Hello, welcome to CLSB Politics. Sean Briscoe speaking. So this is the Ohio May 5th primary. This is part of my 50 to 60 video series on the primaries walking into 2026, just to give us an idea of what's really going down. And it's a good starting point. We're going to have to go back to these guys after the filing dates in December for their campaign finance reports. But until that happens, this is kind of where they were at in June. And we look at some of the demographics and breakdown of each district. So this is Ohio. Now, Ohio's gerrymandered to hell, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So you've got two blue districts. You got 13 in the first, which are somewhat flippable, maybe districts. You get the 14th to 7th, which are, connected to the 11th and the 13th. Now, those are, when we go to the next map, I want you to look at those very closely. Then you've got the 15th, the 10th, and the 1st, right? And you have the 9th, of course. So those are kind of the places that can play. But I want to show you what they did to make those light reds not as, I want to show you some gerrymandering. Okay. So you see there the 7th, the 11th, the 14th, right? And I'm going to bounce it back again, right? So it's the 13th, the 7th, the 14th, and the 11th, right? Well, when you look at that, you can see that they've actually cut into the cities and broken the cities apart and separated them and taken the suburbs out of those cities and so forth. Jesus, the 11th practically cuts a city in half with the 7th. And what they do, the reason they're doing that is to break up the Democratic vote. That's the gerrymandering. You can also see it on between the 1st and the 8th down there at the bottom. Here, I'll reverse it back. So the first, the first district is white, which basically means it could go 50-50. Well, that's because they split that city in half. It should just be a blue district. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys so you guys can better understand as we move forward what these districts are actually doing. So when I look at growth of vote, so white would be neutral, no growth at all. Blue would be more blue leaning. Red would be more red leaning. What you see there is that what's interesting is, like, in the center of the cities, it's white, maybe a little bit red, but the outer areas of those cities, those suburbs, and maybe some of the older housing are all becoming more blue. So that's why they gerrymander the way they do. They need to keep those suburbs from uniting with those cities because the GOP wouldn't stand a chance otherwise. Real quick, you can like and subscribe. I'm on all these platforms now. I've got my website. I've got my YouTube, my Blue Sky, my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Substack. With Substack, you can become a paid member, which would be great. It's $5 a month, not too bad. And YouTube's also got a way for you to donate via PayPal. All right. The mini contested primaries in Ohio for 2026. So District 1, we got a Greg Lanson, who's the incumbent, and Lindsay Ferreira. For sure. So I couldn't find anything on Ferreira because she probably just hasn't pulled the money together yet, because this was back in June. I'm hoping she's done better since then. Greg's sitting on $1 million. That was back in June. So that's pretty much says a lot. Anyway, Congressional District 6. This is the Democratic primary. We're looking at Sam Barrack, Kripchak, and Ritchie. So when I looked up theirs, Ritchie and Kripchak actually had filed with the FEC. I think it's really just starter money. I think they were just getting their campaigns going. So looking forward to seeing how those guys change. And when you look at District 6, though, it's brutal, man. It's 120,000 vote difference between the Democrat and the Republican. So, I mean, that is a heavy, heavy lift. The 7th, you're looking at a Eisner, a Fitzgerald, and a Schultz. Okay. And remember, this is that area that's super gerrymandered, the 7th, 13th, 14th. Yeah, I'll call those guys. All right. So the only one I could find that had raised any money as of June was just under 10 grand, Michael Eisner, which 10 grand gets you kind of your PO box, your website, get you maybe some material done, probably have a push piece. So he's probably out there talking to groups trying to raise money. And that's what you do with 10 grand. You can't really run a field program for that little. You could maybe get van up and running, but you'd still need door hangers. It's just not enough money. But this was back in June. I'm sure he's been very active. Again, these are the places you can find me. District 11, Democratic primary. This is Shontel Brown, who's the incumbent. And then David Light, who's also running in that primary. Shontel Brown's sitting on almost $1 million. Pretty sure solid. Not going anywhere. I would be amazed if this seat changed candidates. The 15th, kind of a weird district. This district, all right. If you want to see what a gerrymandered district looks like, go look at the 15th. It's too weird looking. It narrows and then it widens and narrows again. No. And you see all these little squigglies? Those are the hooks I keep telling you guys to look for. Lots of hooks. The only one I could find then Democratic primary that raised any money was Adam Miller, sitting at 10K. Like, again, it's really just starter money, gets him some material, gets his website up and running, does all the stuff that he needs to do to start raising money. And unfortunately, the GOP incumbent's sitting on $1 million. So this guy needs to raise a lot of money. And numbers aren't as bad as the other district, but it's still 40,000 votes. 45,000 votes is a lot of votes. That means that's just, and you got a lot of people turning out. You got well over 350,000 people showing up. So sometimes you can flip these if they're really low turnout. Because if they have a low turnout and a reasonable margin, then you're like, okay, well, what would a high turnout look like, And of course, I based all these on the off presidential cycle numbers. These are presidential, so these are 2024's numbers. And it's a heavy lift, and it's a difficult district to operate in because you're dealing with lots of weird geography, and geography really does mess with a campaign. Well, thanks for watching. CLSP Politics is where it's at. I appreciate everyone joining me on Instagram. Instagram's been really, really great. If you're on TikTok, you can find me. You'd be one of my very first followers on TikTok. Not a lot of action on that, but we're figuring it out. Blue Sky also, thank you everyone for watching. Really appreciate you guys. All right. Well, if you got any questions about any candidates that might be running in the future, let me know. I'm always happy to take a peek. If you've got any candidates that would like to be interviewed, I do interviews. In fact, I'm trying to schedule a bunch right now. All right. I will talk to you later.